Oh my god, you guys. Oh my god. 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 Everything bad I ever said about this show, I take it all back. Screwing up She-Hulk's origin? Forget it. The writer's toxic anti-male agenda? Ancient history. The show being a comedy with no jokes? I couldn't give less of a crap. You know why? You know why? Because Megan Thee Stallion is going to be in She-Hulk. This is the greatest thing to ever happen in the MCU. All the other Disney Plus shows are garbage compared to this. Phase 4 will be heralded for decades to come as an epic golden age of entertainment. I just have one question though. Who the f*** is Megan Thee Stallion? Okay. So, I didn't like episode 2. I didn't think it was good, but it was sort of an improvement on episode 1 in that at least the annoying stuff was de-emphasized a little bit. So I crossed my fingers and thought maybe episode 1 was the low point. I mean, shows can improve as they go along. I didn't really like Stargirl season 1 at first, but that show got better. So maybe She-Hulk will start to get its act together from here. It's possible. But if the only thing the producers are focused on, the only thing the writers can think of to drum up interest rather than actually doing something to fix the myriad of huge problems this show has, is a worthless, asinine, blink and you miss it celebrity cameo, that's when you know this shit ain't working. The Abomination is up for parole. You'd think that would be a really big deal. But who cares about that? Because we've got Megan Thee Stallion, y'all! The characters must have name-dropped her like 50 times. The writers were really excited about this, and I don't even know who the f*** this person is. I never even heard of her until like 3 days ago when all these articles started popping up all over the place. ZOMG! Megan Thee Stallion is in the MCU! She's debuting in an episode of She-Hulk! Holy shit! Yeah. She's on screen for like 15 seconds, she says 2 or 3 lines, and she twerks. I wouldn't get too excited. And Jesus Christ, when the show can't even get its own main character right and keeps shitting the bed on basic concepts like comedy, maintaining continuity from one episode to the next, and establishing some kind of real threat or villain that She-Hulk does not completely embarrass right out of the gate, why the hell should anyone give a shit about this? Anywho, episode 3 begins with Jen marching back into the Supermax prison to talk to Blonsky, and she's all, WTF, dude? You escaped from prison? Turned into the Abomination again? You do realize this destroys our chances of getting you paroled, right? But then Blonsky's all, no, it's all good, because you see, I was taken from the prison against my will, forced to do those things, and then returned of my own volition. Talk to the guy who abducted me, he'll explain everything. So Jen has diverse female BFF Googling Wong. Did you know the current Sorcerer Supreme has a LinkedIn account? And oh look, he used to work at Target. Isn't that a riot? I bet that's where the Ancient One found him, while he was tossing all those unsold Rose Tico action figures that despicable sexist men refuse to buy into the discount bin. Ha 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 ha. They're gonna have to get a hold of Wong or their case is kinda screwed, so instead of sending him a legal summons or whatever, diverse female BFF decides to do some catfishing and sends him a thirst trap. 'Cause, you know, he's a man, and men just don't think with their brains. And it's funny how this type of behavior will be presented as a bad thing when a man does it in just a few minutes. But now, when a woman's doing it, that makes it okay. Then Jen addresses the audience again, talking about how this isn't one of those cameos every week type of shows, even though they've literally been doing cameos every week. And the weird thing about this, she's in the car right now, and when she's talking to us, she takes her hands off the wheel, so the car is driving itself. But then when they cut to a different camera angle, her hand is back on the wheel. And it's not the only time that shit happens either. I keep noticing little gaps like that all over the place. I don't know who the editor was on this, but damn was that person out to lunch. So we get a montage of bullshit media coverage doing a lot of revisionist history. News anchors talking about how Jen has been plagued by public backlash ever since her secret identity was revealed, which is the exact opposite of what happened last week, you dumb writers. Everyone instantly fell in love with her. But now, because that doesn't fit the story of the week, all of a sudden it's just not a thing anymore? Now don't worry everyone, naturally She-Hulk is still a worldwide trend, but now it's because everyone hates her and is trolling her and all the sexist man babies feel threatened by her. Of course. And what's more, they actually had the balls to take potshots at online content creators who dared to have an opinion about their amazing show and say despicable things like, they took the Hulk's manhood away and gave it to a woman. Why every superhero gotta be a girl now? And I've got no problem with female heroes, just make your own. And this is all so horrible and so unfair. Never mind the fact that Jen herself was complaining about being a Hulk derivative last week! But yeah, go ahead, writers. Take your pot shots at the internet community. That worked out great when Ghostbusters 2016 did it, right? Here's the thing about this, though. Are there some assorted douchebags out there who are always gonna say stuff like that no matter what? Sure. But guess what? That applies to everything. Every project has haters. I have haters. Arcane is one of the best animated shows I've ever seen in my life, and that show has haters. Some of them talk to me about why they hated the show. It's just more woke garbage, blah blah blah. Yeah, there's no pleasing those people, but they're the minority. The majority of the fans that you're supposed to be playing to actually like She-Hulk. There's a reason why she caught on in the comics. Yeah, she was a female version of the Hulk, but she had her own identity and her own character, and people liked her for that. The reason why most fans are crapping on your show now is because the writing is terrible, you treat established characters such as Bruce Banner like shit, you're obvious anti-male agenda, it's the most unfunny comedy you're gonna find anywhere this year, and you writers don't seem to have any understanding of the character and the material the show is actually based on. So in their idiotic efforts to take potshots at their critics, they couldn't even get the f***ing criticism right. So sure, go ahead. It's no skin off my ass if you want to give online critics the middle finger. I'll just sit here, continue monetizing your jackassery, and laugh my balls off when this all blows up in your face. Diverse female BFF urges Jen to get out in front of this and do an interview or something so she can control the narrative, but Jen doesn't want to. She thinks the attention is just because she's representing Blonsky, and when that's over, the media circus will die down, even though the media circus started before she was representing Blonsky. Yeah, that makes sense. Then Jen has a meeting with the boss. She walks into his office, and lo and behold, who should she find there but the firm's brand new client, asshole white guy. And wouldn't you know it, one of the first things he does is make a comment about Jen's female colleague that would likely earn him a sexual harassment suit in any respectable workplace. I can't talk to a 10 about embarrassing man stuff. She could be my next fiancé. See? It's only sexist when men do it. Asshole white guy needs a lawyer because he was defrauded by an ex-girlfriend, and he came to them because she was a shape-shifting light elf from New Asgard who bilked him out of a ton of money by tricking him into thinking he was dating Megan the Stallion, who, as I understand it, is a celebrity of some kind. Jen immediately starts mocking him, laughs at the guy who was just taken advantage of for hundreds of thousands of dollars and came to this firm for help for actually thinking he was dating Megan the Stallion. As if a fucking shapeshifter couldn't have caused any legit confusion with that, right? But at the end of the day, he's a man, and men are such arrogant, narcissistic assholes that of course he thought a famous celebrity would be into him. Why wouldn't she be? Then Wong portals in, so Jen talks to him while Pug gets stuck with this case. And Wong confirms what Blonsky told her. He extracted the abomination from prison against his own wishes because Wong required a worthy opponent as part of his training to become the Sorcerer Supreme. The problem is, the timeline doesn't exactly match up here, because Wong had already been the Sorcerer Supreme for some time before those events occurred. Remember? Wong became Sorcerer Supreme after Strange got snapped for 5 years? Did none of you idiot writers do the homework? So it's more retconning on display here, and God knows Jen doesn't try to actually verify any of this information, but this is the new narrative. Anyway, the parole board won't release Blonsky after seeing the video, so Wong suggests that instead they send him to the mirror dimension, or the shadow dimension, but I'm sure there's all sorts of red tape with that stuff, and Blonsky probably doesn't even have a passport anymore, so they compromise by Wong agreeing to show up and explain things to the parole board himself. itself. This scene was the closest the episode got to anything funny. There were still no jokes, and the writing is still pretty bad, but it had Benedict Wong playing Wong. I like Wong, and it turns out that Benedict Wong is funny. He has good comedic timing. So even though the material is not funny, he knows how to react to this situation in such a way that you're still not laughing, but you appreciate the effort the actor is putting in. Like, this character could be funny if he had funny writing. It doesn't mean the show or the scene is good, it just means that Benedict Wong is really good at what he does. Cut to Pug, an asshole white guy who spent $175,000 on this Megan Thee Stallion imposter. Only gods, the writers think this stupid celebrity is worth more than the f***ing show is worth. So asshole white guy leaves the room for a minute, then walks back in, having completely changed his mind about the whole thing and wanting to drop the case. That seems pretty weird, but then the real asshole white guy calls Pug on the phone, so surprise, surprise, this is the imposter. Oh, those wacky shapeshifters, what rascals they are. And I'm no lawyer, but it seems to me that they could probably bring her up on charges of tampering with a case or something for this, though that never comes up. And then she impersonates Pug on her way out, making him look like a sexist asshole to all his female colleagues. Because the writers only have so many cards to play with male characters, and by God, they're gonna play them. Parole board time. Funny thing about this one, in episode 2, we learned that one of Jen's job requirements was to appear at the office and in court as She-Hulk. And in the very next episode, the very first time she goes to court, on 3 separate occasions in 2 different trials no less, it's as Jen Walters. Continuity? What's that? Now, yes, this is taking place in the prison, which has a no powers policy, but why even tell us that she has to go to court as She-Hulk in the first place if 1 week later she was going to be in court as Jen Walters because reasons? How did that slip through the cracks? How many times did you rewrite this? Or did you not rewrite it and that was the issue? You didn't think this would be confusing or look like you just couldn't make up your damn minds? What are we doing here? So Jen thinks they can swing this, but it does depend on Wong showing up and explaining things to the board, and Wong is currently running late. Why? They don't tell us. So they stall for a few minutes. Blonsky makes a statement. A bunch of other witnesses make statements. Emil helps the other prisoners learn how to read. He leads them in meditation stuff. Things like that. Just painting him as a guy who is very much reformed and not the person he was. Now they just need to account for that pesky escaping from prison thing, and luckily, this is when Wong shows up. Because why would we want the trial on this lawyer show to not go smoothly? That would never make for interesting television, right? Meanwhile, Pug is with asshole white guy in a different court arguing about how his client was defrauded out of his money. The shapeshifters' lawyers argue that they were just role-playing, and no rational adult would ever believe they were dating the real Megan Thee Stallion, even though I would think a fucking shapeshifter could make a pretty convincing case that he would. Mystique made an entire country think she was a US senator once upon a time, okay? Yeah, multiverse, whatever, but the point is, this shit happens. Anyway, the judge is gonna allow this to go to trial, but it's on Pug to prove that asshole white guy is so unimaginably gullible that he actually believed he was dating the real Megan Thee Stallion. And considering what a massive idiot they've written this guy as, that really shouldn't be too difficult. Then the judge comes back and says he's changed his mind, so they're not going to trial after all. Of course, this is just the shapeshifter being a little rascal again. They're just repeating the same joke that wasn't funny the first 2 times, and very little is made of her impersonating a judge like this, even though this is highly illegal. It's treated like no big deal, because that's funny somehow? If you say so, writers. But yeah, the shapeshifter really screwed herself with that stunt, so it looks like Pug has this case in the bag pretty much. And what a relief that is. I was afraid we might have to drag this subplot out for more than a handful of scenes. We really dodged a bullet there. Back at the parole hearing, Wong tells the board what he told Jen. He abducted Blonsky from his cell, giving him no choice, but it was Blonsky's choice to return and serve out his sentence. So, case closed? Not quite. Blonsky may be reformed, but what about when he changes into the Abomination? We can't account for that, but Emil's got that one covered. He just transforms into the Abomination right there in his cell. Everybody freaks the out, alarms go off, armed guards start pouring in, but it's all good. He's in complete control, didn't lose his mind or anything, though he did apparently lose his junk. I'm sure that was just a coincidence. Wink. Then Blonsky changes back into his human form, and Jen makes her argument that this guy is in no danger of turning into a rampaging monster again, and clearly he could have escaped at any time but chose not to. So the board's gonna consider this, but there's one other little matter on the table here. Wong just admitted to breaking a prisoner out of jail, which is a crime, but then Wong is like, I have to go now. My planet needs me. And then he fucks off through a portal, so that's that. And frankly, this entire scene felt pretty uneventful. Nothing really happened here. Wong was running late, so they switched a few things around, did the other witnesses first, then Wong showed up, gave his testimony, and that was it. There was no tension here. You were never worried that they might lose. There were no difficulties or roadblocks or conflicts or last-minute swerves. It didn't appear to be a ruse to get Abomination out of jail so he could go back to being evil. He seems genuinely reformed. It was all very easy. And that's just not interesting. If you weren't gonna make this a difficult case, then you could have at least tried to make it funny. This is supposedly a comedy after all, but it wasn't funny either. Again, there are no jokes here. What are we supposed to laugh at? I still don't know. Why should we care about this? Jen was never challenged. They never once put her back against the wall. She had a good case, and she won easily. That's all that happened. And BT dubs, just in case you were wondering about Blonsky's 7 soulmates, they were not a Thunderbolts reference after all. See, I thought that might have been alluding to the team that Elaine from Seinfeld has been putting together, but nope, because why would we want to see something fun like that, right? No, actually, it was just a bunch of hippies. They show up to watch the parole hearing, they do exactly nothing, and they only existed for a very awkward gag that had no setup, no punchline, and no payoff. Kind of like the Ralph Boner thing from WandaVision, except you never really thought he was Quicksilver, they never teased that it might lead to anything cool, and there's no boner at the end. Hats off to ya. So Jen avoids talking to the media on her way in and out of the prison. Then they go to the bar later where she complains about the media circus and just wanting this all to be over. Again, diverse female BFF urges her to do an interview because this is not going away, and again, Jen still doesn't want to. Then Pug shows up complaining about his thing with asshole white guy, and Jen's like, look everyone, we're connecting the A and B story, which they're really not, she just happens to be appearing in both of them. Pug's had it up to here with this dude, wondering how the two of them ever worked with him for so long. They explain why exactly he deserves the moniker of asshole white guy. Then a light bulb goes off and Pug asks if they can say that under oath. Back to court, where Jen is once again in human form. So, does her boss just not give a shit? The prison had a no powers rule, okay, but you're not in the prison right now, this is court. Last week, your boss said you were required to appear in court as She-Hulk. Now, clearly the show is on a budget, but why even tell us that Jen has to be She-Hulk in these specific situations if you knew you didn't have the money to do it? How incompetent are these fucking people? Jen gets sworn in, and she explains, with the biggest shit-eating grin you've ever seen, how asshole white guy is indeed a huge asshole. He's self-absorbed, chauvinistic, conceited, pathologically entitled, and sure, any person of reasonable intelligence would never in a million years think they were dating the real Megan Thee Stallion, but this isn't any person. Certainly not one of reasonable intelligence. This is an asshole white guy who, yes, really is that delusional. So yeah, that character representing the straight white male portion of the audience. He's just the scum of the earth, isn't he? But they easily win the case, and the shapeshifter gets 60 days for impersonating a judge. So the system works, I guess. As long as you're white. And an asshole. Also, Megan Thee Stallion was sitting in the back watching the trial. So there's the worthless cameo people were so hyped about. Booyah. Afterward, asshole white guy is wondering if he has a shot with the real Megan Thee Stallion. At this point, I think the writers were just looking for excuses to say her name as many times as possible. But he also wishes that there was a way to stop the shapeshifter from victimizing anyone else by removing her powers. And apparently, there is. And that gives Jen a great idea. What the f***? Okay, This part. Holy shit. Remember in episode 1 how Bruce had invented a power inhibitor that stopped him from turning into the Hulk, but it was only a prototype, so when it got damaged, that was it? He couldn't make another one because the plot didn't say so? Well, turns out he didn't need to because the plot says so now, and somehow, some way, at some point, this technology became widely available. We cut back to the parole hearing, and Blonsky gets released on the condition that he wears a power inhibitor from now on. Because those are a thing now. I couldn't tell you when or how they became a thing, but they are. And that raises so many fucking questions. I don't even know where to begin. Why did Bruce have to invent a power inhibitor if they were already a thing? Why couldn't he just wear one of those after his broke in the car crash? Jen was down for wearing the inhibitor Bruce made, so why couldn't she just wear one of those other inhibitors if she didn't want to be She-Hulk? Why would it not be required for superpowered prison inmates to wear power inhibitors at all times on general fucking principles? None of this makes any sense! And also, I don't think the writers in any way appreciate the can of worms they just opened up here. Now that superpower inhibitors are readily available, in every MCU project from now on, every time a bad guy gets taken down, people are going to be asking, why don't the heroes just slap a power inhibitor on him? And when they don't, that's going to be a big plot hole they'll have to dance around because of this. And then I think about all the X-Men stories out there where power inhibitors were treated like a dog collar, like a muzzle, something really serious that was used to oppress mutants, and here they are being introduced as a last-minute plot device to get a bunch of no-talent hack writers from A to B in a worthless Story of the Week episode. Do you realize how many potential stories and how much money you just left on the table by doing this? Of course you don't. I doubt you considered any of the ramifications beyond finding a way to finish this stupid fucking parole subplot, and you couldn't even do that competently. So finally, Jen decides to do an interview, and it was a whole lot of build-up for fucking nothing. The interviewer has one question, and it's one we already know the answer to. How'd you pick the name She-Hulk? I didn't. Some rando on the news came up with it, and it just kinda stuck. Alright then, back to midterm election coverage and Dark Brandon memes, I guess. Well, that subplot was time well spent. And speaking of fucking nothing, guess what they turned the Wrecking Crew into? Yeah. Jen gets ambushed outside her house by these 4 scrawny beta geeks. They look so fucking pathetic, it's honestly way more laughable than any of the humor in this episode. This is the Wrecking Crew. 4 big destructive powerhouses. They've fought Luke Cage, Captain America, Spider-Man, Thor. Are they A-listers? No. But they're not whatever the this is supposed to be either. And what's so goddamn irritating about this is that so little is made of them, and Jen defeats them so quickly and so effortlessly that it's like, why even use them at all? You could have gotten the same results just by using 4 nameless rando thugs and saved the Wrecking Crew for a project that might actually want to use these characters in a meaningful way. They could have been solid mini-boss type villains for some other hero, but you just shit all over them here. Like they were nothing. What was the fucking point? The entire fight scene was 18 seconds long, which, credit to them, was 9 seconds longer than Titania lasted. It sucked. She-Hulk just obliterated them without even trying. Then they run away like complete losers, so no need to ever take them seriously again. One of them tried to get a blood sample from She-Hulk, but the needle couldn't pierce her skin, and they lament that their boss is gonna be mad about this. That's probably Titania, and I'm assuming she wants She-Hulk's blood so as to acquire Hulk powers for herself. The question being, how the shit would she know that that's how you gain Hulk powers? Exactly 2 people on Earth know that, only one of whom is actually on Earth right now. So unless Jen told diverse female BFF and diverse female BFF told Titania, how is she supposed to know this? And why even bother doing it anyway? Bruce already told Jen that they turn into Hulks because of their special genes that are like a 1 in a million fluke, so what's Titania gonna get from Jen's blood aside from radiation poisoning? I don't know, but wouldn't it be funny if Titania did inject Jen's blood, but they have different blood types? So instead of getting Hulk powers, Titania just goes into anaphylactic shock? I mean, come on. Even these writers ought to be able to mine a few laughs out of that scenario. Or maybe not. So Jen picks up her stuff, looks at her reflection in the car window, and it just ends very awkwardly. She's not happy she survived an assault, she's just like, meh. Which actually sums up this whole episode pretty well. But we're not done yet. There's still the post-credits scene. You know the one. Everyone's seen the video. She-Hulk meets Megan Thee Stallion in her office, and they twerk. Last week, Jen was complaining about how she wouldn't be taken seriously at her new job, and this week, she's twerking in her office while Megan Thee Stallion spanks her. I would think that if you wanted to be taken seriously as a professional, maybe try acting like a professional. But screw that, we couldn't do any twerking if that was a thing. I'd just like to point out, just for the record, that many overworked, underpaid VFX artists devoted countless exhaustive hours to design, animate, and render this monstrosity. And incidentally, if you turn the volume up during the twerking and listen very closely, you can almost hear Tatiana Maslany praying to God for an Orphan Black revival. I'm so sorry, Tatiana, but you're stuck. But thankfully, I'm not, because this episode's over. What the f*** did I just watch? Jesus H. Christ, what a mess. The storytelling in the pilot was sloppy at best. 2 episodes later, and it's only getting worse. They keep retconning any event in the MCU that doesn't fit their narrative, which turns out to be quite a lot. Male characters are either getting shit on, disrespected, made fools of, or have all their testosterone sucked out. Storylines either don't go anywhere or are resolved pathetically easily. Jen has still not faced any real adversity or challenges whatsoever. Everything is super easy for her. Her only real issue is that the media won't stop talking about her, which is more of an annoyance than a problem. There was all this stuff, and perhaps most damning of all for this quote-unquote comedy, it's still not f***ing funny! You embarrassing a white male character for being a one-dimensional asshole is not funny. Pointless celebrity cameos done to create cheap temporary buzz are not funny. Blonsky's soulmates being a bunch of hippies who just stand there doing nothing is not funny. Twerking is not funny! And you'd think someone on the staff would know that. I mean, the head writer worked on Rick and Morty, which I don't watch, but you figure she ought to be able to land a joke once in a while, but there are no jokes! There are no punchlines, no payoffs to anything! It's just painful awkwardness all the way through! 9 times out of 10, I just feel embarrassed for the actors! And at the rate this show is going, I think that's only gonna get worse from here. Oh my god. On the plus side, maybe Rings of Power won't seem so bad by comparison now. Holy shit, I still have to watch that, don't I? Whoopee. Thanks for watching, and while you're here, please do all the other YouTube things. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel. Links to everything are in the description box. Sound off on this episode in the comments section. Like the video, share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned, I'll see you next time.